Alright, let's talk about this Bangladesh cricket team collapse before their big test series in Australia. Because wow, 54 all out in the second innings of a tour game? That's not just a bad day at the office. That's a full-blown crisis moment. But here's the thing. I don't think this is just about bad batting. There's a deeper story here, and honestly, it's one that exposes some uncomfortable truths about Bangladesh cricket's ambitions on the world stage. Let me break it down. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. Phil Simmons, their head coach, called the performance not nice. And yeah, that's a pretty polite way of saying this was a disaster. But here's what I find fascinating. Simmons is still holding on to hope, saying they've got 3 days to fix everything before the test. Really? 3 days to fix a batting lineup that collapsed in 17 overs? That's like saying you'll fix a broken car engine with a roll of duct tape before a cross-country race. It's optimistic, sure, but is it realistic? Personally, I think this collapse reveals cracks that aren't so easily patched. Now let's zoom in on the actual numbers. A 17-over second innings? Only one batter scoring more than 20 runs? That's not just poor, it's almost comical if it weren't so tragic. And sure, the pitch might have been tricky, but here's the thing. Test cricket is about adapting. If you can't handle a bit of pressure in a tour game, how are you going to survive against Pat Cummins and Mitchell Starc in a full-strength Australian side? What many people don't realize is that this isn't just a batting problem, it's a mental one. The pressure got to them, and that raises a bigger question. Has Bangladesh's rapid rise in Test cricket been built on shaky foundations? Then there's the Taijul Islam injury subplot. Their main spinner, stuck with a bone contusion to his hand, didn't bowl a single over in the tour game. Now the physio's saying he'll be optimistic for the test. But let's be real. Optimistic isn't the same as guaranteed. If Taijul isn't fit, that's a massive blow. Spin is Bangladesh's secret weapon, especially in subcontinental conditions. But Australia? They're a different beast. Without Taijul, they're missing a key tactical piece. And here's the kicker. Even if he plays, how effective will he be with a dodgy hand? A detail I find fascinating is how this injury might force Bangladesh into a gamble, maybe throwing a second spinner into the mix or leaning harder on their seamers. But in Australian conditions? That feels like a high-risk move. Now, let's not forget Mehidy Hasan Miraz's century. Dude scored 109 off 141 balls after the team was 110-6. That's the kind of innings that should give fans hope, right? But here's the twist. Even that heroic knock feels overshadowed by the second innings meltdown. Because if the top order keeps failing, Mehidy's heroics become a drop in the ocean. From my perspective, this highlights Bangladesh's biggest issue. They're over-reliant on a few stars. When Tamim Iqbal or Shakib Al Hasan aren't at their best, the whole lineup looks fragile. And in Test cricket, fragility gets punished brutally. But let's zoom out for a second. Why does this matter beyond the stats and injuries? Because Bangladesh is trying to punch above its weight in world cricket. They've made huge strides in the last decade. But moments like this tour game collapse reveal how thin the margin for error really is. They're facing Australia, a team that's ranked #1 for a reason, in conditions that aren't familiar to anyone. And if you take a step back and think about it, this series could define their test ambitions for years. A loss here isn't just a scorecard. It's a psychological setback. But here's the flip side. If they bounce back and win, it becomes one of the greatest underdog stories in cricket history. That's the pressure they're under. So what's my takeaway here? Honestly, I think this Bangladesh team is at a crossroads. The talent is there, but the consistency, the mental toughness still feels lacking. And while Phil Simmons is trying to spin this as a fixable problem, I wonder if this tour game was a wake-up call they needed. Because here's the truth. Cricket isn't kind to teams that crumble under pressure. And if they can't handle Darwin, how will they handle Perth? What do you think? Is this collapse a blip, or does it expose deeper issues? Let me know in the comments, because trust me, this isn't just about one bad game. It's about the future of Bangladeshi Test cricket.